Get excited, America, because Dunkin' Go-Tos are here. Double deals on breakfast sandwiches made for go-getters. Why 2 sandwiches? Because sometimes your appetite is like your playlist. After one sandwich is over, you just want to hit next and enjoy another. So come into Dunkin' Donuts now and get 2 egg and cheese wake-up wrap sandwiches for $2, 2 egg and cheese English muffins for $3, or 2 bacon, egg, and cheese croissants for $5. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It feels like morning to me, as a matter of fact, because, well, if you follow me, you already know that I just got back from Vegas, so you can imagine that my body is about 3.5 hours off. So, hi, everybody. I'm here. I'm back. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so excited to be back on air, as a matter of fact, because I missed my show. Forgive me that I sound a little less like myself, because I've been talking for 4 days straight and working. So here I am. I'm back. Thanks so much to everybody that's tuning in today. Quick reminder to everybody, I'll do the show run-up so you guys know, just in case you didn't get an opportunity to see it, on my Sins Chat Corner page. Today, of course, we are speaking with the lovely and very patient Lindsey Wolko of the Center for Pet Safety, which is going on today. Tomorrow, for some of you that may not remember, the only co-host I have ever had on my show is Jimmy Prevalius. I know it's hard to say. Will be on my show tomorrow at 1:30 in the afternoon, Central Standard Time, by the way. He is an actor, he's a producer, he's a director, he's a comedian, he's a musician. He's basically everything you'd want in a person in New York City, and that would be on the 17th. 18th would be Candy of Southeastern Roastery, which is a New York City-based roastery that we're going to be delving into at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. And then my last show of the week on Thursday is 2 again at Central Standard Time, which would be the amazing Charles Barber. He happens to be a Milwaukee musician. If all of you know me, which you do, I live in Milwaukee, and so, of course, not only is he a longtime staple in our community, but he has been kind enough to volunteer to send me information and also music so that I can put it into my upcoming movie. So excited. So if by some chance you guys can tune into one, tune into all 4, I would absolutely appreciate it more than you know. Quick heads up, obviously I will be in LA at the end of this month. Obviously that would be the April 27th through the 29th. If you're looking for me and you're in LA, please get a hold of me before I get there. And most importantly, I just want to remind everybody we're in the final submissions for my film festival, Art is Alive Film Festival. .yolasite.com or filmfreeway.com, Art is Alive Film Festival. We're in the late submission period, but I'm still capping the cost at $25. And doing our last round of casting, if anybody doesn't know, the name of my film is Loves to a Mirror. Go ahead and check it out on Facebook, and also it has its own website. So without further ado, let's have me stop talking and start speaking with Lindsey. Lindsey.
Hey, Cindy, how are you?
Well, if you just listen to that dissertation, you see I've been busy lately. I was sick. I know. I was terribly sick, which prevented us from being on air before. And so then I went to Vegas to do business and work. So, yeah, it's crazy. When you start doing movies and film festivals and radio, it's crazy. But here you are. Here we are. So I'm excited. So thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited. There's so much to talk about. First of all, I'm animal stupid, meaning I have a cat, but when I say animal stupid, which is everything that you deal with, I have no idea. Like I read it and I do all my research and I look into things like pet safety, and I'm like, I'm technologically stupid because like some of these terms, some of the things that you talk about that you deal with on a regular basis, I have no clue about, which is part of the reason why you're on the show, so that I get a clue about it, because pets are important. I have a cat, obviously. I've had fish. I've had turtles. So pets in general are very important to me. So obviously you founded an entire center for pet safety, so it's pretty clear to me that pets are important to you too. So let's start off with generic information. Let's go way back to the beginning when Lindsey is just a regular person who didn't found this absolutely amazing center. So tell us a little bit about your background, meaning did you have experience, meaning certifications and things with pets and so on and so forth, sales, marketing experience. Tell us a bit about the background which led to you eventually getting to the center and founding it.
Well, so many years ago, my little dog Maggie was traveling with me. She was recently adopted into my home, and she was traveling, and I didn't have room in the car for her, so she was wandering around, and I knew that was unsafe. So I went to a regular, big store, picked up a harness, strapped her in, thought I did everything I was supposed to do, and slammed on the brakes a couple months later to avoid an accident, and all I heard was screaming. I mean, she was in pain, she was injured, and I found out that the harness product did nothing to protect her. So at that time, I started to deep dive into the pet products industry and joined the industry. Actually looked at, the sales marketing behind the products, the construction, the work that they do, the due diligence, and then the marketing claims. And did a lot of product reviews, became a trusted advisor for many of those brands, and eventually I started a pilot study because I had so many people asking me questions about, will something hold up in a crash? So I did a pilot study in 2011, and at that point I closed all my for-profit, my retail stores, and dove into this head first. So it's been a long journey. It's a slow journey, but I think it's one that's very important, and pet owners are very unaware about the marketing spin that goes on in the pet products industry in general. Right. And that's one of those things we're trying to counter.
I totally imagine. Now I'm going to ascertain, because of course you're headquartered in Virginia. Now, are you an actual Virginia resident, or have you founded it there and actually have had to relocate? Meaning, where did you live originally? Is this your home state? Is there a reason you picked Virginia, for instance, versus I would have pictured, so a lot of the centers that are out there in New York City or Canada or LA. Do you follow me? So I was curious, why Virginia?
Well, Virginia is my home state. I was born here. I haven't lived my whole life. I've been around a bit, but I'm back in Virginia now full time. And the test lab that we were working with at the time, they opened a shop here in Northern Virginia. So we work out of there when we're doing active product testing. But we've grown the mission so much. So we've got people located all over the United States, and we're working to do outreach with some universities in the California space, in the Michigan space. So we're talking to universities to try and bring them on board as well. And because there's research that we have to accomplish in order to solve some of these problems. And that's one of the things. So it's really not just, we're based in Virginia, but we're not just a Virginia location.
Right, exactly. I gotcha. So since I got you on the line, and I've never been to Virginia, and I seem to have flown everywhere else, tell me about Virginia a little bit. Is it a place I should see? I mean, I'm like, when I think Virginia, what's that? You know what I'm saying?
Parts of Virginia are beautiful. The parts that where I am located, and it's a nice location, but the traffic here is one of the worst traffic situations in the country, and they're adding tolls upon tolls upon tolls. So for being a vehicle passenger, it's a problem. But Virginia, the part I live in is out in horse country in Virginia, out in the western suburbs. And it's beautiful. I absolutely love where I live, and it's just everything here is hustle and bustle, and it's a greener version of New York, I would have to say. It's very similar to New York.
Wow. Now I do have to come there because I'm going to be living in New York in 6 years. I'm actually in Wisconsin. That's where my home base is, and I'm like, well, I work in entertainment, so of course it makes sense. But it's kind of like my new home. So it's funny that you mentioned and reference it. Now that means I have to go to Virginia because you're like New York City. That's awesome. Or is it?
Yeah, there are parts. I love New York myself. I'm actually heading up there in a couple of weeks. But
nice.
It's very, very busy here, and people just don't have a lot of time. So it's very similar in that aspect to New York.
Oh, I imagine so, definitely. Now tell us a bit about, because obviously, of course, Lindsey is more than just a job or a foundation or a center, of course, clearly. So tell us a bit about your background. I always like to hear about my guests in terms of, okay, does she have kids? Does she have a husband? Does she have free time? Because I know what it's like to run a business, and I'm here to tell you, you're married to that business in essence to a large degree. So tell me a bit about just you when you're not on the job. You're just regular Lindsey.
Well, I work actually 2 jobs, so it's been a bit of a bit of a challenge. But no, I'm single, and I live in Northern Virginia, and I have 4 dogs, and I absolutely adore them. They're my family. I was a caregiver for my mother, my brother, and my father before they passed away. So I put on a tremendous amount of weight. So that's my focus, trying to get that off now. Life gets in the way. Life just gets in the way sometimes, and so that's really the focus. And I don't claim a salary from Center for Pet Safety, so I have to pay for my house somehow. So I work as a consultant in the financial services industry, and Yeah, that's my 9 to 5 or a 7 to 3 job kind of thing, and then evenings and weekends. And I work on Center for Pet Safety, and my management here understands my life, and they know me very well. So they allow me a lot of flexibility that I wouldn't normally get from a regular 40-hour-a-week job.
Sure. No, I understand completely. I get it. Well, not to mention the fact, I think it takes a very special kind of person to work with pets or work with anything relative to pets. I won't lie to you. People, obviously pets are just like people in a lot of senses, of course, and people regard their pets just like people, of course. So it's important to maintain that priority level as far as that goes. And as far as the weight you were referencing, how funny, I was just having this conversation. And and you can relate to this, I'm sure. I'm 48 years old, and I'm entering that stage of life, not quite the stage, but we're getting in that stage. So 3 months ago, I joined this gym. I had a partial stroke. I'm like, I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to change all this stuff. Yeah. And then the gynecologist calls and he says, well, you're starting in that time of life where basically you're just going to keep until you level off. It's all about hormones completely out of whack, hot flashes, and I hate to tell you, but you're going to just keep gaining weight. Isn't that wonderful? Someone tells you I'm just going to keep gaining weight. And you can't really do anything about it. I'm like, go team, right? I mean,
true.
Isn't that frustrating?
It's true.
Oh.
It is very, very true. And that's the thing. So when you're dealing with the regular day-to-day stress of life, I said I was a caregiver for a long time. And I put on 125 pounds. So that just compounds with going through that. Yeah, with going through all of that because, you're still gaining weight on, from the hormonal perspective. But yeah, so we've all lived that. I think, that's in my rearview mirror now, and I just keep moving forward.
I was just going to say, I wake up every morning and I'm like, okay, one day it'll get better. I'm like, every day I have to tell myself it's going to get better. And I'm like, now and I'm sure you get the same way. Folks, just so you know, when you age, eventually you just get to the mellow point, and finally you're like, I am what I am. It is what it is. You know what I mean? You kind of can't obsess about it either. So I'm like, if I'm a little fatter, oh well. If I don't go on my diet every day, oh well. But I'll tell you right now, stay away from the gym. I know you haven't been on my show, but I rag about this all the time. Don't go to the gym. I go to the gym because I have to. I hate the gym because everyone there doesn't need a gym. Am I wrong? They're all like paper thin. And they're all staring at themselves in the mirror. And I'm like, can you take a better picture of yourself? I'm like, what's the gym supposed to be about? Us. The people that need to work on it. I'm like, hello, So, yeah.
Right.
So there you go. Heads up, folks. Don't go to the gym. It's evil there. I still go because I have to, but whatever. It is what it is. Okay, so now I have numerous questions, of course, as it relates to certain things. But before I start with that sort of good stuff, because we have two different areas we're going to talk about. We'll talk about the center, all the various things that it offers, generic questions as it relates to certain things. Then on the flip side of the fence, I know you have a bunch of travel tips to give to us in all various realms about summer travel, of course. So we'll do two different sides of the spectrum here. But first of all, one of the things I want to talk about, which is another very generic question as far as our pets go, is I've been noticing this about my cat. I don't know if dogs are the exact same way, but it's frustrating. Dogs and cats, I think a lot of times are like babies, and I have 4 babies, which are now grown, 2 of them anyway. They only can communicate in the beginning by making noise, so oftentimes like my cat, it drives me nuts. So she'll be meowing, and I'm like, okay, she has food, she has water. I'm paying attention to her. I'm like, what the heck could possibly be wrong with this cat? But she just keeps, meowing. And so it's frustrating because I'm like, what am I not doing? So let's talk a minute about pet communication, meaning I'm sure that you have a sense of what our pets need and want from us, or your own pets, I should say. What's an easy way for most of us to try to identify more with our own pets with using their form of communication?
That's a really tricky question because you really train the both of you train each other, right? So when you bring a new puppy home or a new kitten home, there's a training process that goes on, and like you said, initially all they do is bark or all they do is meow and make noise because that's all they can do. Eventually, there becomes they train each other, and so like for my dogs, my one little dog Trevor, he could just sit and stare at me, and I know exactly what he wants. And it just becomes that innate kind of, communication bond that you have. And you can do it with training. So, I've got family members who train by giving treats so that, that's how they get the response that they need from the pet. And that helps improve that communication skill between you and your pet because they understand those keywords. the cookie or,
Okay.
whatever you use that can help,
Sure.
get where they need to go. But yeah, I think it's one of those things, you just live with someone for a while or live with your pets for a while, and eventually it just becomes an innate communications tool.
I definitely hope so, because let me tell you, she's frustrating. You know what I mean? Because I've tried treats, and I have tried canned food versus the other food, and then I've tried to, like, ignore her. And then, it's obvious. I get to those things because, folks, I tell them this all the time. I'm like, how can you tell that people like you? It's kind of the same with pets. It took her a long time, but now she stares right at me, and I'm like, I get it, just like.
Cindy, are you there?
Hello, Lindsay?
Hi, Cindy. So sorry about that. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on either. All of a sudden I keep talking to you, and I'm like, did I bore her or something? Was it like a bad show? I'm like, it's only been like 7 minutes. I'm like, I couldn't have screwed up in 7 minutes, right? So, yeah, I'm like talking to you about this whole dog thing, and I'm like, oh, no. Sorry. Okay.
I'm on the cell phone. I'm on a cell phone. So sorry. I don't have a landline availability today, so I apologize.
I hear you. And often people, landlines, they don't have landlines anymore, and I feel bad because I'm like, seriously, it makes me really frustrated. You know what I mean? We get into a grind. You know what I'm talking about? Like, we get into a grind and we start talking about stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, there they are. Okay, so now that I got my thought back, which was we were talking about how my cat loves me, hates me. That's what I always call it. It's a love-hate relationship. I just think she hates me because I won't let her literally cat around the neighborhood. Because, like, every time my door is open, she's one step away. And honestly, once she left, I mean, I live like in the woods, basically. I live in a suburban area. She got outside. She was gone 2 days. After 2 days, I was like, I started to cry. I'm like, she's gone. She's not coming back. And I'll be darned, she found her way home. I was like, literally, all of a sudden I woke up, there they are, and I'm like, isn't that fascinating? I'm like, if your dog left you, would they be able to, like, figure it out? Because I'm like, we're not, like, right in the city here. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that wild?
I think they have that sense, right? They can, not only do they have the physical scent that they can leave, but they also have a directional sense. They know, like, my dogs can tell time. It's an amazing skill set our pets have. So yeah, it does not surprise me. Now, my dogs would probably be long gone. I mean, they would take off, and it would be challenging trying to get them back. But yeah, with your cat, you're very, very lucky.
Yeah, and I feel very fortunate about that. Like I said, I know that she's kind of like down on me and like, oh my God, why won't you let me go outside? But I'm like, I don't think she understands. I'm just afraid she's not going to find her way back. So it's like one of those things. So there you go. So that's my little cat story of the day. But of course, obviously, you don't have cats, you have dogs, and God love you. I say this all the time to people. It's like, you probably, as you've answered my question, don't have any children, because I'm like, most of us, I don't know how you could manage having kids and dogs at the same time. It's work, isn't it? I mean, literally, I know it's a labor of love, but don't you find it to be a bit challenging, meaning the balancing act? You know what I'm talking about? As far as just having 4 dogs is a lot.
It is a lot. I don't know that I would do this again and have 4 of them, but I've got one who's an aging senior. He's going to be 14 in August, so I wanted to make sure we had, that my little guys had plenty of friends around. So that was a bit preemptive on my part. But yeah, so you start with one, you get another one, and then after that, it's just gravy, right? It's just more joy in your life and more love in your life. And then, you have to set up those pieces, especially being single. You have to set up those backup people in case something happens to you, and the dog sitters and this and that, so that when so that you can have a regular life and you can go places and do things. And, sometimes I take my dogs with me and sometimes I don't. So it just all depends on the role. But, that's the thing with the 4 dogs. It's just more love in my life, and I absolutely adore them all. So.
That's so sweet. And of course, obviously, you took that love and created an entire center so as to be providing things such as protection and higher standards and implementing testing and things of that nature. So kudos to you on that. I have the highest respect for individuals that take in numerous parts of their life, whether it's their time, whether it's their efforts, whether it's volunteering, to put together something that's so close to your heart. So I advocate this greatly. So now I'm going to have a bunch of questions because I told you I'm pet stupid, right? So you're going to find out just how pet stupid I am because a lot of this stuff I'm just like, what? What's going on with this? Like, what's happening? So terminology and things like that. So just bear with me as far as that goes. So folks, as we were mentioning before, so the center that she has founded is called the Center for Pet Safety. It's obviously headquartered in Virginia, as we were talking about. And a lot of what their focus remains upon is implementing testing and high safety standards and, of course, doing research and advocacy, meaning for both the consumer and the companion animal safety component, because that's huge. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit, of course. When it comes to the actual research part, because as I understand it, you are specifically product research in addition to being the founder, of course. So that's your job, is meaning product research. Now, when we talk about products, are we talking specifically about what sorts of things? And I'm imagining it's not just a leash or it's not just a this or that. So could you maybe go in depth into when you say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to be the founder, but I'm going to head up on product research, what does your day look like in terms of handling that component of your company?
Well, we target our research based on the types of complaints that we get. So we're the only entity in the world at this point that is taking active complaints from pet owners. So we get calls, product complaints. My dog was injured, my dog was killed, and we work with our attorneys closely to make sure that we're effectively targeting and something that we can actually tackle at the moment because we are a small organization. We're a nonprofit, 501c3. We're funded by pet owners, and we do try to work out to get sponsorships and partners in place to help cover some of the larger costs we have. But so, my days go, what's sailing, what do we know there, where the problems are. And that's really where we started because of my experience with Maggie. We started in travel. We've been there now for 5, 6, 7 years. And we're going to continue on travel because it is such an important topic. And huge safety factors are in place for people, but, when it comes to traveling with your pets, they're the number one traveling companion. Really isn't anything in place that's going to ever be, formal or official from a governmental perspective. We want to give pet owners the best possible information we can. So, we looked at the travel side. We're looking at, some other products right now. We're starting, pilot study for hopefully later this year if we can fund that. We've got, ongoing testing, brand certifying. And, that's what's been so year is that we've had 2 brands. We had Gunner Kennels certify their medium crate. We had Gen 7 certified their Gen 7 commuter. Great little carrier. And we've got other brands that are certifying in the background as well. At least they're trying to get there. To get to these marks is not easy. So, but my day consists of assembling the teams that will help us develop these standards and, help hold the brands accountable for their marketing claims. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Oh, without a doubt, absolutely. And the other part of the component is when you're doing product research, can you tell us maybe the top 3 things that you're looking for in terms of something you consider above excellence as it relates to products in general? Meaning that obviously as a journalist, I research all the things all the time, but are there particular items or things that you look at that center around a particular product that make you say, yes, this is the core of excellence and this is something we know you want me or the consumer to use on a regular basis?
So we actually have developed our own safety standards because there are no safety standards in the marketplace, and there's nothing governmental. So we've developed safety standards, and we're looking, in the travel space. We assessed, we did some measurement studies in 2013 and 2015 that were sponsored by Subaru of America, because like over 50% of their drivers have dogs, and they're concerned about that element of safety in the car. So we measured what can brands do, right? What are the products? What are the capabilities of the products that are out there being marketed? We look at the marketing behind each product. We do screenshots and we document their marketing claims, and we go through in-depth dive. We'll order samples in. We'll take a look at those, and then we test them based on our knowledge and the claims that the brands put together. And we've developed uniform test scenarios now that we follow. And from there, we'll grade. And so, excursion measurements, how far forward the dog goes in our testing. We look at the quality of the stitching, the quality of the hardware. That's just in the travel space. Each individual safety standard is going to be different, and it's going to be very specific to that product class. So, like I said, we started in harnesses, crates, carriers, pet travel seats. And now we're stepping outside of that, and we're going to be looking at, other products that pet owners use on a regular basis to ensure they're safe. But first, we have to do the initial assessment. Yeah.
Well, and the one that I think comes to mind, and this is a simple, cute question, which is, since, of course, you are a dog owner 4 times over, does that mean that you just take everything home and test it on your own dogs? I know that sounds stupid in a sense, but do you know what I mean? Like, I often think the best testing comes through the person who's going to use it. And in this case, it's an animal, not necessarily a real live human. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's experiential. So we do, years ago, that's how I started in this space, was I would sample and my dogs would be the test pilots. And, so that's how we did this. But the reality, when you come down to, a repeatable process, that's where we are. We want to be able to do an apples-to-apples comparison. So if you've got a Dalmatian versus a Pomeranian, you may get a different result based on size. And manufacturers, that's one of the things. We've developed such a huge knowledge, especially in the travel realm. We can provide a lot of knowledge sharing to the brands. So as they're working toward this, they're free to reach out to us. We talk to them on a regular basis. We work to be as constructive as we possibly can, because we're building something that's going to lead to standardized testing. The experiential, the ease of use testing is absolutely critical, and we've done some of that as well with the harnesses. But that's a learning, that's something that we need to learn about, but we also need to find a way to do apples to apples comparison and use standardized approaches to product testing. So that's really where we are right now. And I pulled together teams. So we've got experts we've brought in who are heavily credentialed, very well published, folks that have, worked on governmental, regulations and standards. So we're not starting from ground zero. But we have to just get the basic data down first. So from that aspect, from a data perspective, it's quite boring, but that's really where we have to start.
Right, and sometimes people have to do boring things to be able to get to the better things, and I don't think they realize that. I say that all the time. I'm like, not everything about my job is exciting, because the word journalist to some is exciting, and I'm like, yeah, well, if you're covering cat litter or something, does that sound exciting to you? You know what I mean? Because it's not just, this is going to be the fun, happy stuff. Sometimes you have to do the boring stuff, of course. That's one of those things. Okay, now, different core elements of what you have. First of all, I wanted to talk about the technical things, because folks, obviously, eventually, we're going to tell you that you have to go to the website to find a number of different things on there. So let's start with the generic website stuff, because, of course, what I love about your website is that it covers in depth, and it's every single detail, every single tab goes very far into depth into what you do, what you're trying to accomplish, who works with you, what you need, what you want. And I love that. It's very in-depth. It's very user-friendly for someone who is obviously, again, pet stupid. So that's number one. Number two, a couple quick questions that I noticed, so that this way listeners get a heads up. I know for some time you were having technical difficulties with the contact form, and that's important if people want to reach you. Has that been rectified, or is that still problematic?
I think one of our team members, I think, put in, we use some background software that helps with that. The one that's actually embedded in our form, I think, or in our website may be broken if it's still noted, but we also have another form that's a pop-up that will come up. If you need to contact us, you can use that as well. So if not, reach out to info@centerforpetsafety.org.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, because I was like, you don't want to centralize and have people going to the website and it's not working, obviously, of course. Now, obviously, I know that in the past, I saw as of December, you had been doing these lovely blogs on there, and folks, you have to check these out. They're about all different, literally spaced out, and for a while there, I noticed that, and there's been a bit of a break on that. Is that something you anticipate doing, is continuing the blogging component on the website?
Absolutely, yes. So that's one of the things. My team keep driving me, but my days are so full, and that's the thing. Working a 16, 17-hour day, as you know, you get home, and every once in a while, it's like, I can't write another blog post tonight.
I know.
Yeah, we're going to work on getting more information out there, and we're going to have guest bloggers join us in the future to help. But we've just got so many things on our plate right now, so it's been quite busy.
I gotcha. Yeah, because I like them. I think that they're informative. I think they're interesting, and I'm sure that the listening audience and others that are out there, sometimes it's nice just to have a perspective on something in a cute little blog format versus obviously some of the other stuff. Clearly, I also noticed that you had been referencing a move. So did the move actually happen? Because I don't know how long ago you were supposed to do that. So I have to ask. I'm like, well, what the heck? Let's ask her.
Yeah, we actually had to move our. So we're a nonprofit organization, right? So one of the things we have is we had a storage space, and our storage space they raised our rate up. I think it was $300 a month, and that's just not a good spend of money. And I'm looking at this. We have to move out of this place because we don't maintain a physical office. There is a physical office for our address. Right. Our organization is largely virtual, and then we use a Regis service, so we're able to get office space anywhere in the country where we go and where we have meetings. So that's one of the reasons we've maintained that flexibility from our organizational perspective.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand. All right. I just wanted to clarify that as far as that goes, so we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Now, I know that, obviously, of course, as you had started to preface, that you're one of the only people, in fact, you are the only people, of course, handling complaints as far as that goes. So I thought it might be beneficial to people listening to have you go through that. So meaning, let's say Cindy had a complaint, and she approaches the Center for Pet Safety. What is the protocol for handling complaints on your end, and what sort of information should people have hand ready when they contact you?
Well, so this is one of the things. So there are many avenues out there to file complaints for like pharma and food. And, we want to hear from pet owners. So let's say you have a food complaint. We want to hear from you before you file the official complaint with the brand and with, we've got guidance on our website. There's actually a blog posting specific to how to report a product issue. So you would, contact us, email us, and, detail your product complaint. And then we will assess it and see if there's anything that we can do to help provide guidance. Get an email back from me or a member of my team. We will provide you with some basic guidance, and we will work to potentially, depending on the seriousness of the incident, if it's like, well, my dog got stuck in this versus my dog was killed, right? We take the my dog was killed issue much more seriously than the other.
Of course.
But then we'll schedule an intake call. And so from that intake call, we will document what happened. We'll get your contact information, and we'll give you additional guidance about, backup documentation that we would need to move forward at all to see, what we can do. And all of those complaints set up, and those complaints help guide, what we're going to target in the future from a research perspective. If we're getting lots of calls about collars and leashes breaking, we're going to dive into that. That's going to help lead us down that path. Yeah, so it's a big challenge. We get a lot of product complaints, more so than pet owners realize, and that's why it's important for us to hear from you if you're having issues with a product.
Of course, and more importantly, just out of curiosity, if there is such a thing, is there something called as a lead time? Meaning, for instance, they contact the center. Approximately, once you start digging in and delving into the complaint itself, is there a resolve? Meaning, how long does it take typically to get some form of resolve from you?
In some cases, we provide you with the guidance, and we will give you the steps that you should take. You are actually the driver for the resolution. In some cases, we've reached out to brands, and we've talked to them individually on your behalf. But we need to document the process. What happens typically once you contact a brand, the reason we want to hear from you first is the brands will have you sign non-disclosure agreements. So if you've filed a complaint with a brand and it's a legitimate complaint, their attorneys will send you documentation. We actually have copies of some of these non-disclosure agreements. And they will make you sign a non-disclosure agreement, which means if you don't contact us before you contact them, you cannot legally, if you sign that document, you cannot legally tell anyone about your problem. And that's why so many of these things remain in the background. Pet owners don't even understand that if I sign this document, you can't talk about this to anyone. You can't say it to media. You can't. And that's a challenge, right? So we want to get in front of that non-disclosure so that we actually have all the evidence that we need to move forward with your product complaint before you talk to the brands. And this is it's very challenging. And we've had some extraordinarily sad stories come forth where pet owners signed the documentation and they didn't realize what they were signing. And so that's a big
terrible.
challenge, is educating pet owners. Oh, you have no idea.
Oh my God, I don't even think I want to know.
Yeah, no, it's
terrible.
not the warm and fuzzy industry people think it is. It's actually it's actually quite cutthroat, and it's a dirty space. So just be very, very careful. If you do have a product, contact us first and let us explain to you the process of walking through the different, what you need to do.
Oh, of course, without a doubt. Funny you were just talking about that. For a minute I got confused because I'm in the entertainment industry. Oh my God. Talk about cutthroat, talk about changes that you didn't know. Oh my gosh, I have had a different perspective. It's actually an eye-opener. What I tell people is it's more sad than anything else, because when you have a reverence for something and you've loved it for so long and then you find out the realities of certain things, it's hard to swallow. It truly is. It's very difficult. So I imagine that this has got to be very hard for you, because you're on the good end of the spectrum trying to do healthy and helpful things, and you're working against something that can be so dark and difficult. So I imagine that's hard. Now, a different component we want to talk about, of course, is I know you do something which is the center, CPS certification. So there's two various aspects. I'd like you to speak a bit about certification, but in particular, I want people to understand, obviously, you're a nonprofit, so you're going to have fees involved with this, of course. And then we want to talk about the seal process, and, of course, I would say talk about the possibility, because a lot of people are like, are we going to get a seal from them for this? Are there fees involved? And then talk about the certification process itself.
Okay, well, so I'm going to start with the other way around. So let's talk about the certification process itself. I'm going to flip this on you. So certification is, because we're a nonprofit organization, we do independent testing. We grade products against the published standards that we have. And like I said, manufacturers contact us and they're like, we want to meet certification. How do we do this? So we provide them, we'll do knowledge sharing, and we'll provide them with calculations they can use for reference. And, that's the type of guidance we give. The due diligence is really up to them. Have to do it. We'll point them to test labs and places they can go to do testing. Because at the end of the day, it serves pet owners the best if they can actually, meet certification, right? We have to be somewhat constructive in that space. So as a nonprofit organization, we are not fully funded, hence the reason I have to work a full-time job. So
Amen. I hear you.
Yeah, we don't have massive amounts of cash flow. I wish we did. I wish we had the backing of someone like Consumer Reports, where we could actually go out and do the independent measurement on a regular basis and get that information to you. But the realities are these cost money, and it's thousands of dollars per test. So we set the certification program up as a fee-for-service program. We're very transparent about that. It's all over our website. A brand would pay a certification examination fee, which is the cost of the testing, and then there's an administrative fee if they pass the testing. So that's the challenge. It's like we have bills to pay, we have insurance, we have graphic design fees to get them the certification, the logos, and there's just so much that goes on in the background when we go through the certification program. But the manufacturer has to pass the testing, and none of this. We're very, very transparent about this, and that's one of the things that we've worked very, very hard to say, look, if we had all the money in the world and we could go out and do this on our own, absolutely we would. But the brands have to foot some of the costs of this, because they are the ones who are going to make money at this at the end of the day. We do not profit from any of these brands. You can look at our books. You'll see we don't profit from a lot of anything. But that's the challenge. We have to charge for certification from a fee perspective. Yeah.
Sure. And of course, obviously.
But they have to pass the testing. And I have to tell you, we've tested many, many brands. And you can see the numbers on our website are the ones that have passed, and there are many brands that have not passed. And so they're back to the drawing board trying to figure it out. And it's a very hard day when they've worked so hard. And
I believe
they see their product blow up on a test sled, and they know they didn't pass. It's a very, very sad day for everybody involved, because we only want the best. Yeah, we want the best for them. But at the end of the day, they have to do the right amount of homework. So.
Oh, of course. That goes without saying, clearly. And do you find that you have a minute percentage that end up getting the seal itself? I'm just curious in terms of analytics or demographics or percentages. Is it a high percentage or?
I would say, well, so far we've got only a small amount that have really participated thus far. We've got, Gunner and Gen 7 and Sleepy Pod as, running away with everything. They're so far ahead of the pack. Zuko Pet. There are 5 companies out there have not tested yet. They're in different countries around the world. So we anticipate that they will be testing either this year or potentially early next. We've had many brands fail. I would say it's about even, maybe a little higher number have failed than have made it. Sure. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, that those are very difficult days, and we have brands that come in and they just want a video, and it's a very frustrating part of our world. But at the end of the day, with the certifications, pet owners can trust that information. So,
gotcha. I understand completely, definitely. Now, one component I want to switch over gears and talk about a little bit is, folks, obviously, a nonprofit doesn't make it without things like donations, sponsorships, et cetera. And in the past, I see you've had some absolutely wonderfully cooperative, larger-name sponsors. You've had Subaru, Wells Fargo, Johnson Controls, et cetera. What about the average layperson? Let's say they're listening in right now, and they're like, heck yeah, I'm on board to go ahead and be a sponsor for this fine organization. What are the steps involved in terms of becoming involved with? Is it just sponsoring a study? Is it sponsoring the center? Talk to me a little bit about how that works.
So you can dictate, when you want to be a sponsor, you can dictate what you want your money applied to. We've got pet owners right now. We heard from first responders a few months ago. They've reported into us that there are some harness products that are failing in real world crashes. So right now we're raising money to do those tests, and we have people that have specified, I only want my donation to go toward that testing. You can sponsor a test. You can, or just general operating expenses. You can sponsor, you don't even have to dictate how you want the money spent. We are very, very frugal when it comes to spending cash flow with CPS, because our budgets are so, we don't have a huge amount of funding. But yeah, sure. I mean, if you decide that you want to sponsor something, definitely reach out to me. I'm happy to you. And we can come up with a sponsorship package, and if you'd like to identify. The challenge is that you cannot be a pet product manufacturer. I've turned down like $4 million. I've turned down like $4 million in funding from pet product manufacturers.
Wow.
Since we started. And we absolutely, if you are a pet product manufacturer and you're like, I want to sponsor a study, but I want my product to place first, we're going to tell you to take. And we have done that. I mean, the last one I had was a few months ago, and they were ready to write me a check over the phone that day. And I'm like, I cannot take your money. We will not accept your cash. Don't even bother.
That's that is a sign of integrity right there, folks. Let me just say, I'm huge on that, by the way. Thank you so much. That's awesome, though. So definitely, what she's trying to say is contact her, and she'd be more than happy to take your donations and sponsorship, of course. And I want to know this. God knows, do you need like 10 more staff? Because I'm like looking at your list of staff, and I'm like, she's doing this with a staff of 6. And I know what that's like. I did my festival with a staff of 1 last year. But obviously, I'm just curious. I want to know how you're doing this with a staff of 6. Because I'd be like, oh, my God, this is insane, woman.
Well, we're even operating on less than that right now. So I will tell you, it's been a challenge. So everybody's on, with the exception of our social media person, and I have my PR person on retainer right now for a little project we've got coming up. But other than that, we run a taut ship here. We don't spend where we don't have to. And the consultants we work with, they only work on per project consulting, and we have to have money behind them before we engage them. And they're waiting in the wings to jump on a new project. But that's the challenge, right? So it's a lot of work. And like I said, most evenings and weekends, you'll find me on a computer working away.
Oh goodness.
It's tough. It's not a one-person shop. I mean, we do have graphic design help out of Chicago. We have, folks down in Texas helping us out from time to time. Sure. But the only people we have on a regular, consulting like a contract would be my social media person and my PR person, other than myself. Yeah, it is not easy. So yeah, funding is definitely needed in our space. That's the only thing that is holding us back. Right. We have the most phenomenal team. But we definitely need funding to move forward. So,
I imagine so, without a doubt. By the way, folks, that means give her money. That's the short version. Just give her money. Anything. We take dollars. I always say that. I'm like, I'm doing a movie and I'm indie. So I'm like, the mentality is we have $5. We're making a movie on $5. So if you walk around with the mentality of $5, and then I'm like, make no mistake, if you give me a quarter, I'm taking the quarter. You want to give me a nickel? I'm taking the nickel. So that's the point, folks. She's taking nickels, quarters, dimes. Nothing is too little, just so we get that. However, she is definitely not little on the momentum side, meaning that I know that you've been featured, oh, my God, all over the place. ABC, CB News, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, oh, my God. You name it, they've written about her. So clearly that makes a stand. She's got like 40,000 followers on her social media platform, one of them alone, so that says something as well. In addition to which, she got to my show. And why? Because only the sensational people come on my show. I just had to throw that out there. There's two other particular services and things that you do that I think stood out to me, one of which is, let's talk a bit about the Pet Safety Certified program. Tell me a little bit about when you integrated that, what are the components involved, meaning if you want to have a Pet Safety Certified program. Excuse me.
Well, so our pet safety, the certification program is pet safety certified. So that's exactly what we do. We test products to ensure they hold up to standards or hold up to our standards and the marketing claims by the manufacturers. We provide a lot of feedback and guidance to the manufacturers and to the brands, and then those folks that pass are featured through our website and through media opportunities as well. So there's definitely a perk for being CPS certified. But that's the thing; these products stand up to scrutiny, and that's one of the reasons we've done this. It works in the consumer interest. That's where we are. So that's CPS certified. You have to pass the testing, and if you have a product that you're interested in certifying in the travel space, because we have to have a published standard, because in that space right now we're working on other standards in the background, but they won't be published until we get those studies mounted. But so if you're interested, if you have a product, let me know. We'll see what we can do to help you.
See how cooperative she is? All the more reason to give her money. Oh, did I just say that? Yeah, I did. Okay. Now, for the retailer and manufacturer services area, there's two particular things, of course, that you're providing. First of all, the consumer product trial service, okay? When somebody ever says trial service, et cetera, they're always thinking certain misnomers about it. So let's get frank and talking about that. Consumer product trial service, when somebody approaches you about that, how does that work specifically? And is that an area that you handle, or you take the pitches and it gets passed on to your team members?
So this actually started I was in the retail space, and we had brands that were launching new products, and they wanted feedback. And they would send the product to me. This was many, many years ago. So they would send me a product, and they would say, hey, could you take a look at this and let me know what you think? And I would develop a formal report back to them with feedback. We'd try it with real dogs. We'd do the experiential side. So we decided to bring that back into CPS, because for brands that are not where we don't have an open certification yet, right? So let's say we had a brand that had a carrier that they wanted certification, but we don't offer certification for that passive over-the-shoulder kind of carrier. But they wanted guidance, and they wanted to make sure that it was as safe as they possibly could make it, even though they weren't going to get CPS certified. They wanted to make sure that they did their diligence, that they had all their I's dotted and their T's crossed. So they reach out to us and said, hey, could you provide us with feedback? So they send us their working sales samples. They go through the production side, and they develop the sales samples, and they'll send it back. And so this is what we're trying to do. This is where we are. And we give them feedback based on, okay, so this is where your price point you want it to be. So we have that kind of background where we can sit back and say, all right, so you're going to want to make this out of leather as opposed to, vinyl. Or you're going to want to put feet on the bottom of this. Or you're going to want to look at how the material bleeds, so that pet owner gets stuck in the rain and they put this on the seat on their car, it's not going to transfer from those types of things, right? And that's where we are. We do want brands that are interested in making the safest products available where we don't have standards in place. We want them to reach out to us, and we do have those available. We've actually done not huge amounts of those, but we've done several. And each brand has been just wowed by the amount of information they were able to get from us. And it's like even down to, you need a material safety data sheet for the chemical that you're using on this product. You want to have this on file in case a pet or a person has a reaction to it. Those types of details are mission critical for some of these brands. And if they're working to make safe products, we want to help as much as we possibly can and be as constructive as we can without being, how can I say, collaborative? Does that make sense? we don't have a hand in the pie. We're not making money from their products. We're still working in the consumer interest, those types of things. And it's like I said, we do these on a regular basis, but maybe a handful a year at the most.
Gotcha. Okay, I see what you mean. Now, on the other side of the fence, the pre-testing feedback. Now, obviously, I'm trying to understand what that means exactly. Again, back to Pet Stupid, remember, folks. So the pre-testing feedback is designed to do what? Obviously, I get it. It's prior to testing, and obviously, of course, it's thoughts or input. But how is that helpful or instrumental for the people that you work with?
Well, so the brand's going to develop a harness product, right? And so they're like, hey, we want to certify this. Well, that's good, but we want
right.
Okay, well, we'll give them guidance. But all of this takes time out of everybody's day, right? We have to be compensated for the amount of time that we spend with some of these brands. A lot of the time we give away is pro bono. But there are some brands that require extensive amounts of hand-holding. I don't even know if that's the right word.
Okay.
But yeah, they require more time to explain all of this. They've never done scientific testing before. They've never, mounted this type of work. And again, in order for us to, benefit the consumer interest, we want them to be as successful as possible. So in some cases, we will say, you need to purchase a package from us so that we can spend time with you. And then from that, we will author formal reports back to their R&D team to say, okay, so this is where you are and this is where you need to be. So these are tips and tricks that you may want to look. Here are some calculations to reference. Here's how you apply those calculations. And so it's all about knowledge sharing. And but again, there's no certification involved for them, even though they're pre-testing. The only thing that they're trying to do is ramp up, and it saves them thousands, if not tens of thousands, in R&D dollars to do that, and it gets them, closer to certification that much faster. So.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
And now that we've covered her absolutely fabulous company, I have to ask about these travel tips because I see that you cover all various areas. So we have auto travel, we have airline travel, and we have just standardized stuff in general, like if you're getting into the car, you know what I mean? And not even necessarily a car. Because I was like, okay, let's say that you get in a car, let's say you go to the airline, or even hotel travel, obviously. What about those of us that are just going to the beach, or like what of us that are just taking someone for a long walk, meaning like if your cat, dog, whatever is going for a long walk? So talk to me about that stuff, the random stuff, meaning if it's not more structured like this. And let's just say you're going off to the beach. Let's say you're going off to a climate they're not used to in general. Are there just tips that you could just provide to us that would be helpful in any circumstance before we get to those specialized ones?
Okay, well, in general, make sure your pets are up to date on their vaccinations and, all of the flea and tick treatments and things that you give on a regular basis, right? So you want to make sure that you give your pet, make sure that their health is ready for travel. Keep pet records with you wherever you go. Keep put them in your travel bag. Bring bottled water with you if you can, especially if you're traveling by car. Always bring bottled water from home. If not, use bottled water, from that you purchase in the store at your destination. Don't necessarily take it out of the tap at the sink because water, can change from city to city, and that can cause massive digestive upset for dogs and actually cause a lot of health issues. You pack their dog food. Make sure that you're very well prepared. Don't assume you will be able to find your pet's food at your destination location because in many cases those stores have very small selections. It may not be what your pet's accustomed to. And the last thing you want while you're on vacation is for your pet to go through a digestive upset because it is not pleasant in a hotel room. So we also recommend, make sure you have collars and leashes, all of the necessary tools. Bring some of your pet's favorite toys, those types of things. And then, if you're going to be staying in a hotel, baby gate would be helpful or a crate that you can have available to secure your pet. And we actually prefer locking crates for that because you don't, we want to make sure your pet is safe. You don't just assume that you can put them in the bathroom and close the door because dogs and cats may not adjust well to that in unfamiliar situations. They want to be around smells and familiar things. So those are things you can acclimate to prior to going on your trip, and that's really the best thing you can do for your pet.
Oh, nice answer. Here's what I want to know. this is one thing that nobody ever seems to address, but I'm like, when it comes to safety, pet safety, here's what I'm offering wondering, because I walk down the street sometimes, like I was just in Las Vegas, in New York City especially, I notice this. I'm like, here's a note for pet safety. Maybe you shouldn't be on your damn cell phone when you're walking down the street with your pet. I mean, am I crazy for thinking? You know what I mean? Because I get engrossed in a conversation, like when I'll be looking on social media or something, or somebody's texting me, and you're not really paying attention. So I'm like, does that ever become a problem with pet safety? Because I'm like, how is that not a pet safety problem? You ain't paying attention. You know what I'm saying? You're just not.
It's not only a problem for pet safety, it's also a problem for your safety. We've actually had incidents here in the Northern Virginia area where people have been looking at their cell phone and they've stepped in off of a curb and they get hit by cars. So it's not and killed. I'm not joking. This is not only a pet safety issue. That is actually just a general safety concern. You can be a distracted walker as well as a distracted driver, and neither is good. So we want people to mitigate your phone use. I mean, it's not that important for people to be on the phone 24/7. So.
Oh, no, I agree with you, definitely, without a doubt. The one thing I wanted to mention about the airline travel component, of course, because you've mentioned a lot of great things, I never knew that you needed to have at least a week to 10 days actual aligning that with the airline, meaning getting contact with them, setting up all the arrangements, et cetera, well in advance before you travel. I had no idea. I thought, well, when you book things and all that jazz, you just show up with them and that's fine. So tell folks a little bit about some of the preps that they should be doing whenever they're hopping on an airplane, because that's important, because that takes advance work.
Well, first you need to make sure if you're going to be traveling on a plane with a pet, you want to make sure that, especially if it's 20 pounds and under, it's typically available, or you can typically take your pet on board with you. Otherwise, they're going to have to go into the cargo hold. And you're going to want to talk to the airline directly as you book your tickets to make sure that they do have available space on that flight for a pet, because they do have a limited number of seats for pets available, typically 2, I think, in cabin. And they have very strict rules around that. So if you're planning your vacation and your trip, you want to make sure the pet can accompany you in the cabin if at all possible. You want to make sure that you have you want to make sure your pet's acclimated to the carrier that they're going to need. Make sure the carrier fits the airline regulations for the size, because each airline is different for the amount of size, the size carrier they can use. And then you have the concern of the health certificate. So you cannot hop on a plane anymore with just taking your pet with you. You have to have a health certificate. And I think that has to be arranged within, I think it's 7 to 10 days prior to travel. I have to look that up. I don't remember the specifics. And then if you're going to be at your destination for, let's say, 3 weeks, you're going to have to get another health certificate to board your returning flight. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a vet that you've located and identified at your destination location who can provide a health certificate to get your dog back on the plane for you to come home with them. So that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of paperwork that goes in it, and there's a reason for that. This even applies, for, pets that travel for, the ADA rules, and everybody's required to have that information. So do your homework.
Oh, you betcha. Absolutely. Homework is an essential thing. That's what I say, and not just because I'm a journalist, but knowing your stuff, being prepared is huge, absolutely, without a doubt. So my very last question for you is, because again, did I say, well, I'm pet stupid, I read the word microchip. I'm like, what are we, computer dogs now? Literally, I was like, what? For those that obviously don't have a dog, because I don't have a microchip for my cat, I don't know that I need to. I don't really know. I guess you're going to tell me now about this microchip thing, because honestly, I'm like, why is that important? I can imagine it's location purpose, but is it harmful? Is it difficult? Is it expensive? If you could just elaborate on that, that would be great.
Usually they do them if you take your pet in to have your pet spayed or neutered when they're young. That's typically when they can do an injection. It goes into the back part of the area, into that fatty tissue there, to hold in place. They will shift sometimes as the pet grows, especially if you're working with a puppy or a kitten who's 6 months or younger, that kind of thing. But it's the size of a grain of rice, and all it is it's an identification tool that they can scan. If your pet gets away from you and someone picks up your pet, they can scan your pet's neck, and they can determine who the pet belongs to. You have to sign in for a registry service when you do get your pet microchip, so that they can contact you. It has all your contact information, has backup contact people that, if they can't reach you immediately, someone else can come and help you identify your pet and make sure that they get in touch with you quickly.
Definitely
because,
crucial.
Yeah, a very, very important tool. Most veterinary clinics can very easily do it. They typically like to do it when they're under anesthesia at some point because the needle is quite big. But I have had dogs where they've just gone in the back room and they just, poop, okay, it's done. And the dog's been microchipped and, no worse for wear. They don't seem to be dangerous. They shift around, so you have to check. But it can mean the difference of you getting your pet back versus not getting your pet back.
Oh, that is crucial. Absolutely. That's why I brought it up. I thought there's got to be a significant reason why that's out there.
Yeah.
That's just, thanks for that, because, of course, like I said, some of us don't really understand how important it is. It might seem very little to the average person, but indeed it is not. So I appreciate that. Oh, my God, can you believe that we've talked for an hour? This is so wild. Every time I look and I'm like, oh, my God, we're talking. I mean, am I crazy? I mean, it's not. It feels like we just got on 5 minutes ago. I hope I've done you justice. At least I hope so. I hope I've been amusing and entertaining, and I've done my journalistic job and scooped into you as much as I can. At least I hope so. There's a couple different things that I want to cover before I let you go. First of all, I'm going to tell all the folks how to get a hold of you, obviously, all the various platforms that you're on. I want to remind you, of course, that 2 hours after this episode finishes, that's where it becomes archived. And what I'll do is I'll forward over a copy of the Blog Talk Radio link. I also upload all of my shows to YouTube for now because it scares me. I just found out I just attended a conference, the Broadcasters Association conference in Vegas, and I found out, I never knew, I know this makes me sound stupid, but once it's on YouTube, they can take control of that content on YouTube, which had never occurred to me. Hey, they might be able to alter this. That scares me. So I'm looking into other things. But for right now, it's going on the YouTube in the Blog Talk Radio format. I also don't want to forget to thank my very dear friend Dana Humphrey, because without Dana Humphrey, she actually pitched me, sent over the information, and I never say no to Dana, ever, because she has some of the best clients who bring me some of the best information. They're always funny. They're always informative. They're always talking about very fun, cool pet things that I have no clue about. I mean, I learn literally every time one of our clients comes on. So I'm like, oh, my God, I love you, Dana, and I miss you very much. I haven't seen Dana in so long. She's one of my favorite people in New York City. So I love you. I miss you very much, Miss Humphrey. So I want to read these off, and you just let me know if I've missed anything, of course. To the folks listening in, the lady, the beautiful, wonderful young lady that I was talking to, who you're giving money to, by the way. Remember, a penny, a nickel, a dime, a quarter, $1, anything. Her name is Lindsey A. Wolko, and I'll spell that for you. That's Lindsey, and then the last name is spelled Wolko. She is also the founder as well as the leader of the product research for the Center for Pet Safety. In order to find her, you may go on the website, which is centerforpetsafety.org. The Facebook is a professional page with the same name. They are listed on Twitter as Pet Safety Center. They have a LinkedIn profile, Vimeo, as well as YouTube, but I also noticed you have no Instagram. Is that right?
I haven't started Instagram yet. No, we're getting there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, that's kind of what I figured. Just because that's the rage, because of course there you can put pictures and all this other stuff and everything. So it's like, that's awesome. So I'm just throwing it out there. Are there any other places, any other posts that you put out in addition to? Are you going to be at any events? Because I imagine you gravitate to anything relative to pets. So are there places people can find you?
Not at the moment. We sometimes have events and things that align with the pet products industry trade shows, but at this point in time, we haven't confirmed anything for this year. So you might find us over near Super Zoo somewhere. We wouldn't be on the sales floor, but we may be in another building somewhere and hosting and talking and presenting. So we'll see. Super Zoo or Global Pet.
Very cool. Well, just because how is it that you can be alive and existing and having this cool product and nobody want to meet you? Hello? I don't even have a dog and I want to meet her. I'm like, right? I'm like, seriously, it's been awesome. So I have to tell you, young lady, it's been amazing having you on the show. I can tell right now that my voice is starting to go, oh, it makes me so mad. I went to New York. I came back to Wisconsin, got sick. I was sick for like days on end. I ended up with bronchitis. I go to Vegas this last 4 days, and the weather was like in the 70s, and then I ended up with sinus trouble, and now I come home and I can't talk. It's probably because I've been talking for days. So I'm like, now my voice is going. My kids come home because my kids only go when they leave for 4 days, that's when I travel because I don't travel when they're home. So now they're coming home, and they're going to be happy because if I get mad, I can't yell at them because then they're going to laugh and be like, ha, you can't laugh. And I'm like, ha, ha. I have posters and stuff, just saying. So my lovely lady, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show. Know that you can come back anytime you want. If you have another product to promote, if you want to come on and talk some more, I'm always going to be around. I'm just a phone call away, as I always put it. And so I hope you had a great time, and I hope that I did a great job for you. I appreciate you taking the time and being patient. Really?
Thank you, Cindy.
She likes
Thank you,
me.
Cindy. Thank
She
you.
likes me. Yay!
You rock.
Yes, give me a
Thank
couple
you.
hours. I'll make sure I send all the stuff over to you and stay in touch. It's been a pleasure. I can't thank you enough.
Terrific. Thanks. Thanks, Cindy.
All right, dear.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye. So again, folks, that was Lindsey, and the last name Wolko. She is at the Center for Pet Safety, website centerforpetsafety.org, Facebook with the same name, Twitter at Pet Safety Center, LinkedIn, Vimeo, and YouTube. Those are all the various ways to find her. Before I forget, the lovely lady I prefaced for the PR, which is Dana Humphrey. She is actually the founder of a company called Whitegate PR, which you can find at whitegatepr.com. She's the lovely lady who handles pet products, pet anything in New York City, and let me tell you, she's one of the most beautiful beings inside and out. Get a hold of her if you should need anything, and don't want to forget, tomorrow we have the amazing Jimmy P on my show at 1:30 Central Standard Time. He is an independent actor, producer, director, regular site actor, in addition to which he also plays music, and he's a pretty kick-ass guy. So join us tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central Time. I'm going to give my voice a rest. You guys have a great day. Thanks so much to everybody listening in and for all your support. I'll see you tomorrow.
Get excited, America, because Dunkin' Go-Tos are here. Double deals on breakfast sandwiches made for go-getters. Why 2 sandwiches? Because sometimes your appetite is like your playlist. After one sandwich is over, you just want to hit next and enjoy another. So come into Dunkin' Donuts now and get 2 egg and cheese wake-up wrap sandwiches for $2, 2 egg and cheese English muffins for $3, or 2 bacon, egg, and cheese croissants for $5. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. Get excited, America, because Dunkin' Go-Tos are here. Double deals on breakfast sandwiches made for go-getters. Why 2 sandwiches? Because sometimes your appetite is like your playlist. After one sandwich is over, you just want to hit next and enjoy another. So come into Dunkin' Donuts now and get 2 egg and cheese wake-up wrap sandwiches for $2, 2 egg and cheese English muffins for $3, or 2 bacon, egg, and cheese croissants for $5. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply.